Reasonable people can agree Kamala Harris failed miserably at running for president in 2020. She didn't even make it to Iowa. That is an experience that Democrats who are now placing all of their hopes and dreams on Kamala Harris hope America forgets.
And I just hope America gives her a chance and get to know her before you decide, oh, I don't like her laugh or some stupid nonsense like that. Look at who she is as a person and how well she'll be able to lead our country.
With us now, Dan Kildee, Congressman of Michigan. Welcome back to the program, sir. It is good to see you. I love having you on because you're from Michigan. Not that far from where I'm from in Michigan. We look at the map, 270 to win as it exists, and almost every road for the White House runs through the state of Michigan. I want to play you a quick soundbite. This is Kamala Harris back in 2019 at the debate talking about the border. Take a listen.
Raise your hand if you think it should be a civil offense rather than a crime to cross a border without documentation.
Her hand high. That doesn't play well in suburban Michigan. Suburban Michigan's worried about the border. We see the polling every day.
Well, look, I think we all recognize that we have to deal with problems on the border. But if you look at the other hands that went up in that same debate, I think one of them was elected president of the United States. So I think we can have a debate about the technicalities, the legal technicalities as to how we secure our border. I do think it's notable that the former president had an opportunity to voice support for a bipartisan piece of border legislation that Republicans and Democrats came together to work on. He'd rather have the issue in November than actually solve the problem. And that's kind of the issue. I watched a little bit of the end of your last interview, and I think the point that was being made is that President Trump has a tendency to fade away when it comes to real issues about policy and engage in personalities. And I think that's what we're going to see. We're kind of seeing that again already. And I think it's because he really isn't a policy-centric person. He's a TV personality. That's how he's operated. He chose a celebrity to be his vice presidential running mate. I think anybody can criticize any candidate for president. People can criticize positions that Joe Biden has taken. I have. Maybe that Kamala Harris has taken. But at the end of the day, it's about the direction this country is going to go. And I think people in Michigan are looking for somebody who is part of that next generation and is willing to roll up their sleeves and is willing to sometimes change their view when the facts require it. And I've seen over the years that's something that Kamala Harris has been willing to do. She's certainly done that when it comes to issues of criminal justice. She was a tough prosecutor.
Yeah, she definitely changed her mind on that. I'll go one further for you. Look, Donald Trump had the White House, the House, and the Senate, and he still couldn't get the border secured or the wall built. So there you go. But we think about where the polling is right now. Michigan, Trump 48, Harris 46. Wisconsin, Trump 49, Harris 47. Pennsylvania, Trump 49, Harris 44. Joe Biden was forced out, we're told, because he was shown polling that he couldn't win. Kamala Harris's numbers are about the same, with basically the same message. Trump is terrible, is what we heard from her today. Why do Democrats think you're going to get a different outcome with the same policies with Kamala Harris than you got with Joe Biden, who has the same policies that are polling terribly?
Well, first of all, the polling's not quite the same, number one. Secondly, she's been the potentially presumptive nominee for the period of time where I've eaten 2 full meals. Not much has happened in the last 24 hours.
You need to eat more. Come on, I'm going to send you over some bagels.
You're right about that. You're right about that. But here's what I see on the ground. There's the horse race. That's one variable. Then there's the enthusiasm gap. And I think we all have to acknowledge that the bigger challenge that we're facing with President Biden is that while he may have been beloved by many, the enthusiasm that's necessary to win was not as present as we would like to see. What we've seen just in the last 24 hours when it comes to fundraising, when it comes to volunteers walking in the offices, when it comes to just the general sense among Democratic base voters, is a level of enthusiasm that is part of the mix when you get into a race that's going to be decided by 1 or 2 points, which is what that polling that you just cited will show. The gap is overcome not so much by persuasion, but by the enthusiasm of those base voters who may or may not show up. And I think that's where we have a shot. Now, I'm going to be clear with you, Leland. This doesn't mean Democrats are now going to walk into the White House. We have to work to win. But this gives us a fighting chance to do it. It's still going to be a tough race.
Yeah, I think that echoes what I've heard a lot. I always admire that you're willing to say on TV what most Democrats will only say on background, which was under Joe Biden, we were going to lose. Under Kamala Harris, we've got a chance. So I appreciate it, Congressman. It's good to see you, sir, as always.
Good to see you, Leland.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.